Dun 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 dun. Yeah, we don't have intro music yet, so I'm just doing it myself. Someday we'll have an actual intro. It's probably not that expensive to get that made. Anyway, welcome to the Power Lunch Live Show. I am your host, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy. And every week I bring together as many as 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 3 interesting people to share some knowledge and conversation in a free-flowing, interesting, and completely unpredictable conversation. I mean, I probably could predict it, but that would take work. And I'd rather just meet these people the same time you do. So it's pretty cool. Good time. So let's meet our guests. Before that, let me share with you a couple things I got going on that may be of interest to you. So if you like meeting cool people, coming up September 19th is Entrepreneured, episode 5, The Summit Strikes Back. If that name makes sense to you, you should probably be at the summit. It is, if you go to entrepreneuredsummit.com, that should work. And if that doesn't work, go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/en. Because there's something with the SSL certificate on entrepreneuredsummit.com. But guywknowsaguy.com/en will take you there. And also, I am launching a new program called The Inner Circle because I don't know how to build a 6-figure business, but I know how I built mine. And if you want to pull back the curtain and see what I'm doing and then copy lots of it to build your own business, that's what The Inner Circle is about. So it's guywknowsaguy.com/inner circle. You can find that there. That's enough about me. Let's meet the other people. Hello, other people. Look at all these other people.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so let's do some introductions. Start with Justin. Hey, Justin.
Hey,
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. Started first company a few years ago with zero business background. Now run 2 that only partner with the world's top entrepreneurs or those who will make the investment to become those. New book just came out in 9 days, and about an hour ago, just passed 10,000 copies sold. So I'm very honored and grateful for that. Thank you.
That's some pretty good stuff. We're excited to have you on here. Next up is Paul Boyles.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Paul Boyles. I'm an executive coach. I provide coaching to individuals and teams in small, medium, and large-sized businesses. I also provide some HR consulting and training services. And I've been in human resources for the last 35 years. And last January, decided I was going to launch the business. And we're up and running and doing well. Thank you.
Very good. Welcome. And Anne-Marie Graham.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Graham. I'm based in Dublin, in Ireland, and I'm a business growth and mindset strategist. So basically what I do is I help entrepreneurs grow profitable businesses. So I ideally work with people who are 2 years or more in business, and we look at the strategy, which is the easy part, but I tend to look at 70% of the mindset and 30% of the strategy, because the strategy, as I say, is the easy part. We can tell you what to do, but there's a reason we don't do what we know we should be doing, and that's really what I work with the entrepreneurs on, their belief systems that create their current results.
Fantastic. That sounds like some powerful stuff. And yeah, I was going to, before you said where you're based, I was going to be like, and quiz for the audience, 2 of these people in the Midwest and 1 is not. Which one do you think it is? But you gave it away.
We know who it is.
They never would have known. So welcome everyone. I think this will be a great conversation. So I would say this show is produced by my 2 producers, Serendipity and Random Happenstance. I used to just have Serendipity, but then the show got bigger. We need a second producer, and the system that gets people on the show is, shall I say, algorithmic. As in, I don't look and say, oh, those would be good guests together. They just happen to line up well. So we definitely seem to have a theme of mindset, growth, leadership, coaching sort of things. So looking forward to some great conversations around such things. So our first guest who will be leading off with a topic is Paul Boyles. So Paul, tell us about leadership being a privilege.
Yeah, I think leadership is a privilege. And whether it's, most folks think of it as leadership at work, right? That's the natural inclination. But I think it's far more than just workplace leadership. It's leading at home. It's leading, if you're a student, leading at school. And it's a privilege. It's an opportunity where each of us has a chance to impact others. And ideally and hopefully that impact is in a positive, meaningful, purposeful way. So I really believe it's a privilege. It's an opportunity. We need to be aware of that, cognizant of that, And remember, leaders are always kind of on stage, right? Somebody's always looking at us, seeing what we're doing, what we're not doing, whatever it might be. And we've got to be responsive to that and react to that a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great concept. It's funny you mentioned, leader at work or at home, and I'm like, for some of us, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially as my wife will be joining my team at some point in the next few months. So
Wow.
So then those both become very much the same thing. But I love what you say there about leaders always being on stage. That's something I've always been cognizant of, being in various leadership roles. And the place where authenticity is very important, because when I worked for some companies, there was an expectation of presenting an image of success greater than potentially was borne out by my bank account and reality. So, but I had to show the success. And now that I'm running my own business, I present where I actually am at the time. And I find that tends to work really well. Where I am moves in the right direction when I tell people where I really am, instead of the like, oh, I'm doing great, everything's wonderful. Everything is here.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point, because the facade that folks want to project is, that successful, no problems, no challenges, everything's going great. That's not reality. That's not reality. And folks need to know and understand reality if they're going to really be a leader, because that makes them vulnerable, that makes them accessible to folks. Their folks are going to respect them 10 times more when they're real, genuine, sincere, versus that facade, that fake look that, maybe 20 years ago that was acceptable and real, or thought it was real. Today it's not. It's changed dramatically.
Yeah, I think there's also a factor too, is when you're not authentic, eventually they notice.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
like with one of the companies I worked with, where everyone was successful, everyone was doing great. It wasn't a direct it wasn't like a network marketing company, but it had a little of that vibe, because they were trying to recruit and grow, and so they wanted everyone to tell a good story. And then as you start to be like, oh wait, that person's not doing well, and wait a minute, how rotten is it? And as it turns out, more people are doing well than I thought at one point. Because at one point I'm like, wait, if that person's not doing well, then everyone must not be doing well. I'm like, and then I found out, no, some people really are, but it created that doubt once I broke through it, as opposed to them honestly saying, 40% of our people are struggling, but 60% are doing well. That would be okay. That's a decent truth. Right. And of course, if I think everyone's doing great and it's easy, then I come in expecting great and easy, and all of a sudden, wha-bam! That's not what I expected, because they weren't sharing the honest story.
Yeah. And the reality is, we all go through seasons of life. There's peaks and valleys no matter what. And the good thing is to know, whether you're a leader or not, it doesn't matter. But the good thing is learn from each one of those experiences, to say, oh yeah, I see what he's going through. It's a struggle. It's a hardship, but look what happened in the end, or whatever it might be. Or those peaks, those high points. Look what got her there. Look what she did to achieve that success. That greatness, so to speak, right? Look what happened. Look how it happened. It just didn't happen overnight. It was hard work. It was a long, gradual climb generally, right? I mean, that's usually what works. So being real and recognizing that, and knowing that there are going to be peaks and valleys, that's half the battle. Emery, the mindset thing is so important. That is so critical, because if they go into that mindset thinking everything is going to be rosy all the time.
Yeah. And I think, Paul, I really agree with you there with what you said, because I think people can resonate with you more when you can give the benefit of where you had slumps, or where you maybe failed at something, or something didn't work out. People learn from that, and then they connect with you in a different way. And actually, if some business owners did that more, they'd actually grow their business by being really honest.
I agree.
Because I actually did a live back earlier this year. I went in for a business awards, and I came highly commended, which was the equivalent of second place. And I was really disappointed. And I did a live on kind of coming second. And although it was last year I went in for the same awards and I didn't feature at all. And I said, so this is an improvement, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. And, I was very honest that I was really disappointed, but I had to choose to take the lessons learned. And I actually got a piece of business with someone who connected with me through that live. And I just went on and I was really, really honest about the way I was feeling.
Yeah, and that's really powerful. I was talking to my wife this morning about how so much marketing copy that comes through email is so generic. And so, yes, they tell the story about the time when they were struggling, but it was at some point in the past. Was it 2018? Was it 1918? I don't know. But it's so disconnected from where they are. You can't draw the line from that event to this. And I don't know if any of you are on my email list, but I share basically what's going on. Often in that moment, I'm very very transparent about it, very authentic about it, because and some people are like, oh, it's so brave to be so. It's not brave, it's good business. I've never once had one person be like, make fun of me for anything I did, or and if they ever did, that would be, as some of my friends say, sometimes the trash takes itself out. That would just be people identify themselves as people I don't want in my life. That's easy. But I mean, like a couple weeks ago, I had a post I wrote about, or an email I wrote about running out of underwear, which I think is the epitome of authentic. But it was one of those things where I was using an example of, it's a very simple thing. It would have been a very simple thing to prevent, a very simple thing to solve. And even when it happened, it would have been easy enough to deal with. But, you get caught in your ways. You don't step back and think about, how can I avoid this happening? And then I'm, running around for an hour trying to find it and running upstairs and downstairs. But it was a story that happened that day. Like, it happened that morning. I wrote the email later that morning, sent it out. So it wasn't at some point in the past. It's like, today, here's the thing that happened 3 hours ago. I'm telling you the story right now. And I got a bunch of replies from it, people who engaged with it, because it didn't feel like marketing copy written by a copywriter for the purpose of making you sign up for my freebie to get me into the webinar to sell my $9.97 course. It was like, I'm just telling you a story. I'm just this guy who had trouble finding underwear today. And now I need to go buy more underwear. That's the upside. Like, the solution is so simple. I could have just gone to Kohl's, but hadn't done it previously. And when you're that kind of authentic and not trying to put on the mask, and of course, because once you're putting on the mask, people can see the mask and they're like, let me pull that mask off you. What's behind it, huh? Yeah. What's your weakness? How do we get through the cracks? And I'm like, it's all right here. You feel like a jerk going after someone like that. Any other, Justin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a simplifier into patterns. So most of my day is either talking to my family or being with my family, wife and 2 young sons, or talking to the world's top entrepreneurs. So no business owners, no consultants, no employee humans, just top entrepreneurs. So I haven't met one of those people. This is what separates entrepreneurs, global visionaries, from everyone else. My firm's just partnered with the 0.1%. So this is what separates the 0.1% from the 99.9. I haven't met one of those folks that hasn't overcome at least one of the following 4 things. Most are 2 or 3. And as you get higher up on the food chain, it's all 4s. So the 4 things are bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety that you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So humans, consultants, business owners, they use those as excuses their whole life. Entrepreneurs at the highest level, figure it out. So that's what entrepreneur life is. That's why most people aren't global entrepreneurs. That's why they're consultants or business owners or employees. They can't handle so if you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm not talking about everything else. I'm talking about truly global entrepreneur. Then that's entrepreneur life. All this other stuff is just landing the plane stuff.
I do remember at one point when I was less successful, after talking to a whole lot of successful people, realizing there is not enough trauma in my past for me to be successful. Which is funny because so many people blame their trauma. Oh, I had this experience and it scarred me.
No, so that's the regular human response. So entrepreneurs, so.
Yep, but then I look at it and I'm like, everyone who's successful, they've got some kind of
100%.
some kind of story, and that's what forged them.
100%. And so here's the interesting thing. So again, my brain simplifies into patterns, and regular humans have no idea what I'm talking about, and I don't understand what they're complaining about. And top entrepreneurs love the directness, and regular, non-entrepreneurs don't understand. But when you talk to a certain type of person over and over and over, entrepreneurs are the most damaged people with the best coping skills. That's what they are. That's what they are. And then what happens is they use those coping skills to create global company, hundreds of employees, massive revenue. But what that happens is they use that as a replacement for creating a family or having meaningful relationships. So, that's what my book's about. You can build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. And no one ever talks about that. So I'm just a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. It's very simple.
Okay. I love that concept. And actually, I'm going to have you take introduce that topic. Well, we'll introduce a little more. But before that, wanted to resonate that what you said about like the most damage with the strongest coping skills. I recently launched the Neurodiversity Superpowers podcast, in which I'm interviewing neurodiverse people, autism, ADHD, dyslexia, etc., who are successful because of, not in spite of.
100%. Most of the people I talk to are ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. Yeah. It's not a disorder; it's a sign of genius. Just it's misdiagnosed by humans. They don't understand. And so my wife is a doctor. So think the opposite of me. She's a pediatrician. So she's love, warmth, empathy, rules, whatever that stuff. She'd be the worst entrepreneur of all time, and I'd be the worst pediatrician. She's diagnosed me with like minor Asperger's, not full Asperger's, and it's a blessing. Absolutely. And that's, again, most of the people I talk to are ADD. So they're high, quick start, boom, 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 boom. And then they have little to no follow through. So they're all over the place. If they don't hire 3 million people, nothing will get done. And then I'm high, quick start and high follow through. So say it, do it. It's totally focused. And it's a blessing to be like that. So they're very grateful for me, and I'm very grateful for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I found is a lot of them, especially dyslexia, I think it's kind of the most quintessential of this, that things were harder when they were younger, so they're better now.
It creates a separate superpower. So if you can't learn to read visually like that, then it's something else. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and what I find interesting, because with ADHD, that there's effects directly from ADHD in the business. Autism, there's effects directly in the business. Dyslexia, by the time you're 40 and running a business, you've usually found workarounds. So 100%. The actual dyslexia itself isn't affecting you, but growing up with it is what steals you. So it's interesting finding that pattern. And then, of course, ADHD, you had the challenge growing up, and you still have ADHD, or you had autism growing up, and you still have that with its superpowers and challenges. But it's been fascinating to talk to all those people and get that. And I think I'm probably finding the same thing you are from a different angle. But let's actually talk about, speaking of the thing you found, let us talk about, if I can find the button. Let me give you the screen while I find the banner. There you go. Hey, how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first.
I don't know how you had that, but here it is. There's that. So Peter Diamandis. So people like Peter Diamandis, he's Forbes, one of the top entrepreneurs in the world. Naming that. People like that really like me. So he wrote the forward for the book. I'm very, very grateful for that. And so the formula for creating a successful global company is very simple. My brain simplifies the pattern. So it's you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So the problem is entrepreneurs destroy their family or never have a family for entrepreneur life. That's a problem. So create solution, book, problem solve. #1 on Amazon, on Kindle, 10,000 copies sold in the first 9 days, successful global company. So it's the same thing. It's the same formula for anything. It's just executing it. Like Anne-Marie said, you had talk to me is meaningless without execution. And on my strength finders, I'm activate, maximize, achieve. So there's very little ideation, very little futuristic, it's all results. And so ideator futurists, they're very thankful for that because they're all over the place and they need to execute. And I can keep up with them and then execute. It's very rare.
And I assume these personality type keywords you're using have something to do with those 4 numbers after your name.
So the only thing I write down before I meet someone is their name and their Kolbe score. So there's this is why 1, someone who knows Kolbe or has taken it, it's a higher level of conversation 100% of the time, because it's not your personality. It's how your brain takes action. I don't care what your personality is. I want to know if you're actually going to do something. If you're going to talk for 3 years and never do anything, that's a waste of several years.
Mhm.
And then also it's the Bible of strategic coach. I'm very honored to be in that group. That's a top entrepreneurial group in the world. 25K a year. Level on that, there's a 50K a year group I'm joining next year. And so on your name tag, it's your name, the industry you're in, not the name of your company because nobody cares, and then your Colby score. So most global entrepreneurs are very high quick start. Boom, boom, boom. I believe.
Is that your first number there? The 8.
The third. It's the third. So I'll
Okay.
explain. So you told me earlier you're a high quick start, which based on how you're talking, I can definitely hear that. And so most global visionaries, very high quick start, boom, 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 and then they have no follow through. They can't. That's ADD. So I'm the it's a unicorn score, 8671. So 8 is fact finder, 10 is the highest. So 6 is follow through, which for an entrepreneur, that's astronomically high. 7 is quick start, which is still high. Most of the people I talk to are 8, 9, and 10s. And then 1 is implementer, using your hands. I don't know how to hold a pencil right. So
What was the second one again?
follow through. Yeah. So most of the people I talk to are like 3, 3, 9, 3. They don't need any facts. They don't follow through is for 300 people to do that for them. And then they're very high quick start, the true visionary. And then the implementer, unless you're a surgeon or, architect, that really doesn't matter.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I am now inspired to learn more about that. The concept, especially because it's not so much because it's not so much a personality test, although those are interesting as well.
No, it is. No, it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
No, I don't care. No, I mean, entrepreneurs don't care what your personality is. They want to know if you're going to do anything. And consultants, small business owners, humans, employees, there are exceptions, but for the most part, they're low quick start. So because they're afraid to take risks. The higher quick start you have, the more risk you'll take. So.
Okay. So, and of course, you need all kinds for different places.
100%.
Your
if everyone was
bookkeeper.
like me in this world, it would be not a good situation.
Yeah, you probably don't want your accountant with super high quick start.
So my accountant is a 7734. So he's a 3 quick start, 7 follow through. So exactly, that's what you want your accountant to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very boring human being, by the way, but good accountant. Ask me the same questions every quarter. Has no idea what I'm talking about. No idea. Great accountant, though.
I feel like actually my accountant might be up into the 6, 7 of quick start, but she dials down into accountant mode when it's accountant time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we will answer that.
Yeah, a lot of tattoos and blue hair. It's kind of cool. But she saved me. Yeah. She was a friend of mine. She became my accountant when my business started taking off, and I suddenly had this giant tax bill, and I went, and she's like, all right, we could retro some thing and do the thing and the thing and the thing and thing, and now it's 2,000, not 7,000. I'm like, oh wow, you're amazing. So, but yeah, it's a really interesting concept, and I love that concept that you had about. I'm kind of paraphrasing what you said, but I think it was like see a problem, solve a problem, get it out to the world.
See a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global companies. So I was a journalist for 20 years, created first business based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So saw a problem, created solution, problem solve. So there's nothing outbound, no sales. I haven't done any of that gimmicks in years. You just top people on planet, introduce me to top people. And then second company, annoyed by platforms that let everyone in because people at the highest level don't want to deal with that. So created LinkedIn without the BS, high price point, invite only connectivity platform. And then I'm in Chicago. My partner, who's a 1596 Colby, most of his day is doing 8 and 9 figure deals. He's a backstage visionary genius. He can build a SaaS platform. I don't know how to do that. So that's what we created.
Interesting. Yeah, we should definitely talk more after the show.
Right. Yeah.
I like a lot of what you're talking about here.
So people like you really like me, and then most people are clueless, but that's okay. The ones that really like me are the ones that actually do something, and then you get deer in the headlight look. So it's funny because I was talking to this. He's a 153 IQ, 140 and above is genius, so he's way above genius. And I'm 139, so 1 below genius, and so I can keep up with geniuses and then communicate it to humans. That's
a good skill right there. Yeah.
It's a good skill. And so he's just like, he's like, most people are sheep, and entrepreneurs are sheepdogs. So you get one sheepdog for every 100 sheep, right? One sheep, and it was really fascinating. So the the sheepdogs are protecting all the sheep from the wolves or danger. And so I looked it up because I'm a high fact finder. There was an article published in Science Daily on 2 primary roles. There are only 2 roles for a sheepdog. Only 2. You guys want to guess what it is? What they are? 2, only 2. That's it.
Herding the sheep and protecting the sheep.
Protect, yeah.
Herding the sheep and pushing them forward. That's all it is.
Mhm.
Pushing them forward.
Mhm.
So that's what a visionary's job is. Protect the sheep, right? So, and then usually people like me marry someone who's a stabilizing human, and then it's very strange being around stabilizing humans because we're not sheep. We're trying to protect the sheep.
Mhm.
So that's why many entrepreneurs just, they torch their families because they can't relate to them.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, but I really like you said that format. 'Cause actually, I came up with what I call 5 steps for someone trying to figure out a business, which is pretty much what you said. It's
What is it? What is it?
Identify what you're great at, identify who will pay for it, and then get them to pay for it.
Right. Well, that's good. So yeah, the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, abundance, investment mindset entrepreneur and share their stories with the world. So that's it. And then spending time with my family, and then just keep raising rates because it attracts people that actually will make an investment and eliminates what do you cost charge people, which they're not going to do anything anyway. Or if they do, they're going to complain about it. So it's very simple. Just most people don't have the guts to do it because they're not visionaries. They will never have the guts to do something like that.
So, Paul or Anne Marie, any thoughts?
No, I think
Yeah.
really just go back to what you said, Justin, about trauma. And I think we're on the same page. I think that, that can be an excuse or it can be an opportunity to bring us to where we are and what we do. And all of that experience drives who we decide to become. Is that?
So one, that's tremendous. I'll give you an example because talk to me is meaningless without an answer. And so the most insulting question someone can ask me is, what do you do? The second most insulting question is, can I pick your brain? Those are the 2 most, because nobody really cares about what you do. They care about who you are. So a what you do question is a transactional, not a transformational question. So one of my PR partners, this is a typical story. Okay. This is an entrepreneur. So he was born in Burma, not Myanmar, Burma. When he was 8, his grandfather was decapitated in front of him. He moved with his father with $10 in their pocket when he was 10 to Hong Kong. Created 2 8-figure businesses. Now he's in America. Yeah, well, that's entrepreneur. You're either born someone like that or you're not. And now he created a new healthcare company, an at-home robot to take care of folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, because his mom has dementia and Alzheimer's. So he created that. So that's what entrepreneur life is. Maybe not to that extreme, but that's what it is. So you either can handle something like that or you can't, and most people can't. They can't handle that.
So I actually have a question for you. So I certainly get the not liking the what do you do question. What question would you most want to hear from someone you're meeting? You go into
that's hilarious because so I only write down their name and their Colby score if they know it, and I would say 95% of the people I talk to have taken it, and probably even higher than that now. But no, we just start talking. There's never an agenda ever. Like it's immediate. Yeah, I in fact, and then I was a journalist for 20 years, so interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and then owning global PR firm and connecting, top entrepreneurs in the world. So constantly talking to people. So if this is helpful, I hope it's helpful. So I only have ever asked the same questions. There's only 2 that I always ask. Only 2. One is who your parents are, who your grandparents are, because if you know where you are, if you know where you come from, then you know where you are, and then you know where you're going. Most people don't know where they come from. They don't have any concept. And then, so they don't know where they are, and then they don't know where they're going. So, I know where I come from at a very high level. And again, most of the folks I talk to, immense trauma as a child or young adult, so they know where they come from. And then 2, and every single interview, every single one with, is there anything else you'd like to add? Something that would be good for this story. Am I missing anything? Because many times they wanted to say something but they couldn't, you know, they weren't. So that's it. I mean, all this other, I don't come prepared with anything else.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, I just think because I do sometimes when when I go into breakout room or whatnot, I will sometimes start with the what do you do, because it said open it up, because often I'm coming in, I can see your face, your name, and like trees. So like you need something to get started. I don't want to start by talking about myself, so I need a question that makes you start talking. And so what do you do? I find to be open enough, but I'm curious your thoughts as to a better question that is that.
Yeah,
Tell me about yourself.
Start talking. Yeah, I just would never. I would. It's literally, and that's great if it works for you. It's literally. It's because I again, I'm a high fact finder, so I actually like to know who I'm talking to ahead of time. So when I'm in a room with someone, I'll look them up quickly. I'll look them up or connect with them immediately. That's probably the activator thing. But no, I mean, I just like to, you know, I'll do some research ahead of time in terms of what they might be up to, or maybe they have a book that came out or something like that. So I like to know. I like to know.
Yeah. Well, like when we met, I think we're in a unexpected breakout room. Not unexpected, but it was some kind of virtual event where they're like, "Here,
Kate Leo. Kate's great. So she's an 8 quick start, 8 follow through.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that is the ultimate hit the gas, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I definitely I like your very direct energy.
Directness weeds out nonsense and attracts greatness. So you talk about a mask. People either really like this or they don't. And the people that really like it are top entrepreneurs on the planet.
I like it.
Right. No
mask. Right. So, Anne-Marie, you are
follow that.
And your topic that you sent in was building a high-performance mindset for business building strategies, and getting from where you are to where you want to be. See, our producers did a great job theming this episode.
They really did. They really did. You know, I operate kind of on the principle that it's the 80-20 rule. It's 80% mindset, 20% strategy, or 70-30, you know, if I want to maybe broaden it out a bit. And I just know that from my own experience. In my first business, I spent the, you know, second and third year doing more of the same thing and not changing the results. And that really led me to look at, okay, what do I need to do differently here? Where's my thinking? Where the behavior is coming from? And that's really what I bring entrepreneurs through now. That similar journey where we look at where they are. To me, you need to know 2 things. You need to know where you are, and you need to know where you want to go. And then we can engineer backwards from where you want to go as to why that hasn't shown up yet.
That's super interesting, Anne-Marie. You flipped it. That's really fascinating to me, that you start with where you are. That's really interesting to me. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Yeah, I just think I agree. I agree with what you were saying. You need to know kind of where you've come from or where you're at, because if you don't know where you are, it doesn't matter where you want to go. The journey is going to get confusing. You know, and I don't know. Maybe that's my nurse brain. I'm a nurse by profession, and my background is neuroscience. So you know, and I'm very logical. It's like, well, if you want to know where you want to go, we need to start with where you're at.
You have high empathy for sure.
Yeah. Let me ask you though: do most folks that you work with, do they truly know where they are, or are they rationalizing and justifying where they think they are? Does that make sense?
Yeah, a total sense, Paul. I think with a lot of them, yeah, they're trying to they're afraid to look at where they are, so they try and justify where they are with all the excuses. You know, the pandemic, the recession,
that's not acceptable.
Kids, but they do. They try to justify it.
And I think I agree with you. I agree 100%. And I think that's the challenge of what you're saying is that, well, how do they get where they want to be if they truly don't know where they're grounded right now? Right. That's the reality of how can you get them there if they can't look in the mirror and be true to themselves.
That's exactly why I think it's where you have to know where you come from. I mean, this is how I learn in real time, by the way, and it's all This is what I like talking about. That's why the what do you do thing, I don't care about that. This is interesting. But and then if someone has a better idea, then okay, activate, maximize, achieve. I do think, again, this is based on talking to tens of thousands of folks. if they start out where they come from, it will help them figure out where they are. That is what I've seen. Again, thousands and I don't have any scientific studies other than just deep dives with people. But that's a good take. What's been your findings with if you start where they are, where they're going, and then they look back? Does it help them figure out where they come from if you go that way? Does that
Yeah.
help? That's really
Yeah, it does. And a lot of it, what I have noticed with all of my clients, and even in the, in the mindset work I've done myself. So I've worked with mentors like Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, people who really do make, and it's a no excuses thing. And I think when you're willing to take an honest look at where you are, and you look at why you might be there, but it really starts for me. It's about, is this person willing to take 100% responsibility or not?
100%.
If they're blaming, their parents, and they're blaming their upbringing, and they're blaming the school, and it's all blame and complain, it's very hard to move people like that forward. If people are willing to recognize it and take responsibility, but I have yet to work with someone where it didn't come back to some aspect of their childhood.
100%.
And it may not be a very, traumatic trauma, for want of a better word, but there's something that, gave them this limiting belief about whatever it was that they're holding. And they simply, what I really work with people on is, beliefs are simply crappy thoughts that we've given enough thought to for long enough that it becomes a truth. And I always say to my clients, well, give me the evidence of that. Why are you saying that's true? And even by asking them that question, they start to hear in their own head, well, actually, I don't have evidence.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating. I mean, your brain, you have a very empathic brain, which I greatly appreciate that. There's 34 strength finders, 34 of them, Gallup, Clifton. I'm 34, dead last in empathy, dead last. And then second to last in includer, thus high price point invite only. However, for top entrepreneurs on planet, and I have endless empathy because I feel it so strongly. I just don't understand why other people are making excuses. Makes absolutely no sense. So what happens is I've found collaborative empathy. So my wife, pediatrician, she's probably 1 in empathy. My partner for newer company on Strength Finders, he's competition 1, maximizer 2, empathy 3, which for a visionary, that is very, people talk about leading with empathy, but most really high performing entrepreneurs, they're very low in it. They're very, because you can't, that's why you're running the giant company, because you can't relate to. And sympathy is different than empathy. I sympathize, but empathy, I don't. But here's the other thing, what you said, Anne-Marie, that was fascinating, because again, my brain simplifies into patterns. So if you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network and creates the right opportunities. So you're either born someone like me or you're not. I'm firmly convinced. I mean, most people aren't. They're not like that, which is fine. But if you are, you can just work on your mindset every day. So the first thing I do every day is a grateful journal to my wife. Most important thing for her is for someone to say thank you to her. I don't care if anyone says thank you to me, but for her, it's important. So what I'm grateful for her. 2, run outside 6 days a week in Chicago, no matter the weather conditions, every day. Done that for 20 years, and then listen to shows like these. So you're feeding yourself with good mindset, good ideas. I mean, what Emery, you said, the starting where you are, that's a really good one. So thank you. And then 2, Monday through Friday, every Monday through Friday for several years, I've done a grateful journal on LinkedIn. So and I have about 30,000 something like that. So, and then it's just a commercial for other people. So to simplify all that, when you're constantly grateful and have a grateful mindset, it's very hard to be ungrateful. And then the grateful mindset attracts people that are grateful, and it repels people that make excuses and complain. So it's a really interesting thing to see that.
It's 100%. I agree with you 100% there, Justin. The grateful mindset really does attract a very different caliber. And, we become the people that we associate with. It's so
100%.
important. It really is so important.
Yeah. It also helps the mindset for sure.
And I like Justin's point about learning actively, because with my ADHD and various other distractions and whatnot, Jason Waldron just sent me his book Exitology in a really cool box. I did an unboxing video for it. I just happened to get it just now. I hope to maybe read that book. I will definitely read the first few pages of that book. Will I read all the book? I hope to read that book.
I never finish a book, Michael.
But so what do? I have 4 podcasts. So like, how do I educate myself? I find the smartest people I can, and I interview them, and then I share them out with the world. And it's funny, some people who, people who want to follow my path, and like, my path is on my podcast. Go listen to season 3 of the Guy Knows Guy podcast. That's how I learned, was talking to those people, and I hit record when I started. All the good stuff's on tape. You can go listen to it, but to try to learn from books, especially because one book, a 300-page book, probably has like 4 key points.
Right.
And you interview the author, and they're going to say the 4 key points in the interview.
100%.
Plus, I'm more likely to retain auditory than read. But by engaging with people that way, it's a very powerful way to learn, and I tend to associate with it. And I have no idea where I was going with that, but I just wanted to share that.
That's ADHD, but that's not it. That's a gift. That's a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it's interesting, you were talking about the Colby scores about activation, and I was thinking about personality types, and how to running a business, you need your Colby score. For running a group podcast, you definitely need to understand personality types. And so, it's interesting, kind of like armchair typing the people on the screen, and saying, interesting. But and then of course it does take all types to do whichever way you're doing the scores. It takes all types, because if you had all high D's,
well, if
you had all high D's, probably
Anne-Marie is definitely a high I. I don't even know what the S and C are. I don't even care. I'm not with a little I, and what are the S and C? I don't even know what they are.
Well, it's funny, guys, because I have a couple of coaches, but one of the coaches I'm working with at the moment, it's very, very specifically on sales and growth, and we actually had this conversation yesterday, and she's the opposite end of the scale to me in terms of empathy. So I will over deliver and over coach and over give, and
she's like me.
She's very much okay. So when do you close the sale? Why are you doing all these free
meetings? They don't need all this. Yeah, give me.
But it's so funny. I was saying we were talking about it yesterday. I said, I don't want to be where you are, but I would like to be a little bit closer to where you are.
That's collaborative empathy. You're her collaborative. That's exactly what I was saying. And without that, it's you need it. And I'm like my wife. She taught me how to like say thank you and to like appreciate. I'm serious about that. And then I've allowed her to like take more chances in life, and do fun things, because she never would have done any of it. And so it works. But it really comes down to who you are, and then knowing who you're not as well. So I am not a glad-handing BS PR firm owner. I'm not. It's like very direct, like you either like it or you don't. And I'm just a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. I would never let this life destroy my family life, ever. It would just never do that. And it's very simple. So you either appreciate that, which is great if you do, and if you don't, that's fine too.
Hey, Paul, did you have something you want to add?
No, I think it's a great conversation. I love it. I love the different perspectives, different ideas. And I think so true. You put 10 people in a room, and you have a blend of folks that are all going to have different approaches, different thoughts, different experiences, and that's who they are. That is who they are. But each one of them can be met and needs to be met where they are, to hopefully bring them forward, if that's the case, if that's what your goal is, or the purpose is, I guess is the better word, Yeah.
Well, and I was reminded when Justin was talking about, different types, about some of the big startup leaders we've seen who are very effective and very unpopular and
whatever. Yeah. So those are the folks I partner with, because those are the ones that are actually going to do something, and they help everyone else. They're the only ones that are going to actually do it. And then all of society benefits. But
you get a lot of people who are like, Uber would have been better without, I can't remember the guy's name, Travis Kalanick. Is it Kalanick? Anyway, Uber better without him. And I'm like, Uber would have been nothing without him. Because you needed someone who was enough of a jerk to say, I don't care about your laws.
He probably is empathy also. Probably.
Yeah. And Elon Musk the same way. A lot of these that
he's
people
got to be last.
they want the results that those kinds of people can deliver without those kinds of people, not understanding without those kinds of people, nobody breaks through the barriers,
Right.
and nobody says, sorry to offend everybody, but we're
Yeah,
doing it.
we're not doing this conversation on StreamYard or Zoom or have computers we're not. So that's my point. I mean, those are the people that understand what I'm talking about, and those are the ones I help because they're the and that's fine, by the way. The sheepdog thing, that's totally fine. Thank God for the overwhelming majority, because nothing would get done otherwise. There'd be nothing.
Right.
If no one would follow through on any of it. So,
and so that's the whole concept, though, that team, someone can talk the empathy to that person a little bit to say, okay, well, here's the balance. Yeah, you're right. We've got to do this, this, and this, but here's the repercussion. Here's the experience that's going to happen, whatever it might be. At least need to make you aware of that. Just like your marriage, right? Your wife is a balance there. That helps. That makes it work.
That's why the first thing I do every day is a grateful journal to my wife, because without her, terrible situation. And so I always ask, this is another thing I always ask. So I actually am correcting myself. I always ask people like me, is your spouse a school teacher or a nurse or a social worker or a pilot or a police officer? And most of the time they're like, yeah, how did you know that? I go, well, imagine marrying yourself. And it does happen sometimes. It does. And so two things happen with that. One, greatest company of all time. More often than not, complete dumpster fire, divorce. There's no stabilization. And then, so people like me usually marry stabilizing humans. Not always, but usually.
Yeah. I actually was saying, I don't think I'm quite to the intensity level you are, but in terms of being, I try to teach myself some of the gratitude habits. I mean, I'll try to say thank you, but like I don't send thank you notes. I don't do a lot of that kind of follow up stuff. And but getting back to, I think this is what Paul was talking about, the authenticity. I'm very upfront about that. Like I don't have the system to follow up. I won't remember to do it. I don't naturally do it. But what I am going to do is introduce you to a couple of people, and they're going to be valuable introductions. And I've had people say, like, keep your thank you notes. Give me the introductions. Because, yeah, sure, a thank you note's nice. An introduction is better. So recognizing that I don't deliver this social value, I instead deliver a different value. And the person who's going to be offended because I didn't send them a thank you note or a follow-up email or forgot to do something.
That's ridiculous.
They can rotate out and and then the people who are like, yeah, he doesn't do follow-up stuff, but he just doesn't do follow-up stuff. It's not that I don't care about people or appreciate them.
No, you're a 3393 Colby. You're a 3393. So that's a visionary wackadoo. That's a compliment at the high level. So how many team members do you have?
I have one 17-hour a month VA and my wife coming on my team.
Okay.
In 2023, I will have more of a team.
Yeah, you need more than that.
Because teams usually want to get paid.
No, you need more than that.
But so what I've been doing is building communities until I can build a team.
Right.
And so, trying to build networking groups and that's to some degree like this. And I have this whole infrastructure I'm building out, which is as automated as possible. I joke about my producers, but it's because I don't have time to sit down and spend 3 hours a week preparing the show. So I created a system that people can be like, I'd like to be on the show and I'm interesting. And it works. And then I do an open virtual coffee in the morning that people can drop into. And I do a monthly networking gathering. And I do, places where people can put themselves into the orbit and I don't have to keep them there. And a private networking group. And then as that brings people to me for the networking concierge business, creates revenue, which can then pay my VA, get my wife out of her job, get her onto my team. And then it spirals up. So, and thank you, unidentified Facebook user.
Nice.
That could be anyone.
What you were saying though is that I don't write thank you notes, and that's the real you. That's who you are. Mm-hmm. So if that other person has this expectation of something different, that's on them. That's their choice, their decision, their prerogative. And if they resent it, they had a false expectation. You know, you're very upfront, and there's no charade going on here. This is who I am. You know.
Yeah.
What can I say? You know.
And
You
I
want
totally when someone sends me a thank you note, I totally appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also I have been thinking about, you know, I look for things to emulate. Like when Jason Waldron sent me this book, he sent it to me in this really nice box with his logo on it, and it's got a little gift in there. And I was like, that I could do that, but that would be a matter of I meet someone who I want to share that with, and then I give that to someone else to send, which I know his assistant sent it to me. So it's not like I'm going to be sitting there putting a stamp on a box.
Oh man, this is exhausting. Yeah, I don't even know what this is. It's confusing. So the love languages, that love languages book, there's 5 of them. 0.0 in gifts. So it's like a gift is like it's like a gift is like showing up to the party without actually doing anything in the party. It's like actually do something, take action. To me, it's nice to have that, but like if you're not going to actually do anything or do a real partnership, then it's just like a facade for that. But here's a simple formula that I've learned. Simple formula. So I just keep making bigger and bigger investments to be in smaller and smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. So 2 groups I'm in, Strategic Coach, Abundance 360, they're each $25K a year US, going to join the $50K a year US next year. So bigger investment, smaller room, people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. They're actually doing something. And that allows me to spend biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make most impact. So it's the same formula. So you just keep writing bigger checks to eliminate people that don't do anything, attract people that actually do with the right mindset, and then that allows me to spend time with my family. It's a very simple formula. But again, most people, they won't do it. They'll make an excuse.
That's an interesting concept.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, that's what I'm doing. It's living it out every day.
Yep. And of course, you know, my space is that of being a connector. So I don't know if being in smaller and smaller rooms necessarily serves me. Although I am certainly, I'm curating down further.
Right. So people disqualify themselves with their own mindset. So most people think 0.1% of the population is a small number. 0.1% of 8 billion people is 8 million people. That's a big room. And those are the ones that actually do something. Yeah. So, right.
Yep.
Good perspective.
Well, that's what it is. That's the abundance perspective. Most people are living in scarcity, and they disqualify themselves and prevent themselves with their own limiting mindset. I can hear it immediately.
Interesting. Well, this has been, speaking of limited, we are limited on actual time on the calendar. But this has been a great conversation, and I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, Justin, we definitely need to talk more, because I think we have some things to talk about, possibly. I don't know if you think we have things to talk about, but I do. And thank you, everyone, for your contributions. So this has been fun as always. So we're going to go around, get final thoughts, and share. So this will be the time if you have something to share, then now's the time to share it, or invitations or whatever. So Anne-Marie, final thoughts.
Final thoughts: we become what we think about. Choose wisely. Choose the thought wisely.
I like very concise. Paul, final thought.
I have to kind of just tack onto that. It's really all about choices and decisions and execution. You know, who we become and who we are is a result of what we decide to do or not to do, basically.
That's great. And Justin.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Anne-Marie, I'm very grateful for what you said. I really appreciate that. It was really nice. And, you know, without my wife, not a good situation, and have the most wonderful children on the planet, and just very grateful every day that get to do what I like to do and connect the top people on the planet to other top people on the planet. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michael.
So this has been great. And of course, a reminder for everyone who's watching, the Entrepreneur Summit is coming up September 19th, entrepreneursummit.com. And if that doesn't work for you, go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/EN for entrepreneur. And if you want to pull back the curtain and ride along with me and see what I'm doing, go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/inner circle. It is an insufficiently expensive room. I'm sure that I'm sure Justin wouldn't join because it's not expensive enough. But if you're looking to work your way up, it's a good first step.
What are you doing, man? Come on, raise your rates.
Well, because someone has to help the people who are at that earlier level.
Raise your rate. Okay, all right. We'll talk after. What you're doing?
Yeah. So
I
join
love it.
before Justin convinces me to raise the rates.
Yeah.
Don't wait. All right. Well, thank you all for being on here. This has been great.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.